YouTube? Welcome back to Kupo Gamer. I'm Marco, and today we're talking about darkness. So, welcome back, fam, to another episode of the Kupo Gamer. It feels so good to finally be back in this chair, and we can't thank you enough for being back with us. Outside of Kupo, we are actually art installers, and this past Friday we had our gallery opening. Over the past few months we've been prepping these galleries for the show opening on the 11th, and it was a lot of time but well worth the efforts. We can't express enough how much we appreciate your support and you sticking around while we weren't around for the past few weeks. So without further ado, we're jumping into this video hot, and we're so excited to finally be back and getting this video to you. So, over the past few days, KHUX JP released some story content that's seriously gonna alter the landscape of KH3. In today's video, we're gonna be discussing specifically this mysterious dark figure that's calling itself Darkness. Throughout this video, we are going to be discussing why we think that Darkness could be one of these three candidates. With these three candidates though, we believe that one of them is more likely than any of the others. Let's set up the scene to properly talk about this mysterious figure. After the player in KHUX defeats Maleficent, she retreats back to her castle. During her moody, broody, darkness-given monologue of like 3 words, a shadowy figure steps out of the background and begins to tell Maleficent some stuff. This shadowy enigma of a person calls themselves Darkness. Darkness then proceeds to tell Maleficent that her plan of going back in time to alter her defeats was very dang simple. On top of her wanting to undo her defeats, she wanted to do so to allow her to acquire the 7 Princesses of Heart. Darkness then goes on to say that this event of Maleficent traveling back in time was called in advance by the Master before his disappearance. Darkness then reveals that it was made aware of Maleficent traveling to the past using this specific form of time travel taught to her by that elderly Keyblade wielder. After Darkness reveals this knowledge to Maleficent, it proceeds to tell her a lot more about the Data Escape, the world of KHUX, the Book of Prophecies specifically, as well as principles behind time travel. Alright, let's now refine our deduction to figure out exactly who Darkness is. Darkness speaks in a passive tone, revealing to us that Darkness is not one of the foretellers or the Master of Masters, as well as Zayla. Unless Darkness reveals themselves from the shadows in the continuation of this cutscene in future reveals, it's pretty safe to say then that this shadowed figure is not Xehanort due to the way that it talks about the elderly wielder in a third-person removed context. What's also very interesting to note is that this specific shadowed figure is aware of what Maleficent was probably thinking once she got stabbed by Riku in Kingdom Hearts 1. This bit of knowledge is very, very beard-strokingly interesting, because how exactly did this mysterious shadowed figure know of the events of Maleficent getting stabbed? Another incredibly important note that needs to be added to our deductionary process is that Darkness was very well aware of the elements needed to travel back in time, as well as the knowledge of how to travel to the future. The next deductionary point we need to address now is the way that Darkness speaks. What I mean by this is the exact tone and the way that Darkness holds itself. From the way that the dialogue was worded, Darkness seems to be very pompous, arrogant, and full of itself. With these points now brought to light, let's bring up our candidates of who possibly this could be, at least from Kupo's perception. these characteristics revealed to us through the dialogue with Maleficent, they don't really seem to be shared with Luxu's personality specifically. If we look at the way that Luxu has held himself in the event's back cover, as well as other dialogue snippets along the way, Luxu does not seem as cocky and arrogant as that of Brain or Lauriam. Brain and Lauriam, on the other hand, seem to have a different sort of tonality whenever they're speaking to characters and the way that they just address people at large. So for the sake of this video, we're going to be crossing Luxu off the list of who Darkness is, at least for now. With Luxu off our list now, our deductionary process will continue with Brain and Lauriam. Darkness talked in this cutscene from a point of view that was aware of the events of the future, and that either came from directly coming from the future, directly getting knowledge of the future through someone who saw the future, or from reading the Book of Prophecies itself, or inserts from the Book of Prophecies, just being able to view specific texts from the Book of Prophecies. Both of these characters most likely are aware of the text that is held in the Book of Prophecies and how to get to the past. Actually, all three characters that were on this list seem to share this characteristic of knowing exact text, if not specific knowledge that was given to the foretellers or the new foretellers in KHUX. With that being said though, there's one specific bit of dialogue that I think really refines down who exactly Darkness is. Darkness states that they are aware of how to get to the future. With that specific card of knowledge being shown, I feel like it's safe then to assume that Lauriam is the most likely candidate to be Darkness. As far as these two characters go, we know for a fact that Lauriam gets split into his nobody form as well as his somebody form. With us knowing that Lauriam already separates his body and his heart, he is a prime candidate to be able to travel through time. As far as the KH timeline goes thus far, we have not seen Brain separate himself into his body and his heart. With us aware that Lauriam has a nobody that's incredibly important to the KH storyline from really Kingdom Hearts 1 and on, he's a prime candidate to be able to fit into this mold. As it was made aware to us through the dialogue that young Xehanort had with Sora in Dream Drop Distance, once you travel through time and you return to your time period, you lose the memories that you gained during your time in that time period. This could fit perfectly into the case of Lauriam, where we see specifically that Marluxia has an influence in Chain of Memories as well as apparently the events of Kingdom Hearts 3. Marluxia, since his reveal in Chain of Memories, has also shown himself to be a very interesting part of the organization due to him going off and trying to overthrow it with his own agenda, as well as trying to obtain Naminé in Castle Oblivion. If Lauriam is aware of how to travel through the past and the future, this could explain why Marluxia is in the organization in the first place. Lauriam being able to travel through time would also add significance to why Marluxia was having time in Castle Oblivion. If Lauriam has had his own agenda from his genesis in KHUX, then wouldn't it also make a lot of sense that Marluxia was trying to get to Castle Oblivion for the same reason that Xehanort was? What if both Xehanort and Lauriam were trying to get to Ven's body? If Darkness does indeed prove himself to be Lauriam, it also could help give us the backstory of how Lauriam got separated into two different parts. Once again though, this is just a Kupo theory, so take this with a grain of salt and we'll see if this is the case once KHUX wraps up and Kingdom Hearts 3 finishes in its final chapters. Now it's time for the comment shoutout of the day. Do you think Lauriam is Darkness, or do you think it's another character? Let us know down below if you think we're right or if we're dead wrong. If you like what you saw here today, feel free to like, subscribe, and flick that notification bell for all the things coming at you from Kupo. Links to our social media will be in the description below, so feel free to check us out on Twitter and Instagram, especially now to be a part of our Forge the Keyblade giveaway. We're building a community Keyblade and we need your help in the process. Once we reach 500 subscribers, we're going to be revealing what this Keyblade is going to look like and how we're going to give it away to one of you lovely, lovely people out there. So if you're interested at all in this giveaway, look forward to our further information on Twitter and Instagram. Well, that's about all the time we got for today. So thanks for stopping by our cozy little look at the internet. I'm Marco, this is the Kupo Key Gamer. It's been so real, and we'll see you next time. Darkness, 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 time, darkness, 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 darkness is, whoo, that was a mouthful.